be there, right? And so I agreed to it. And then they tell me that there's an event in Los Angeles at the same time where I'm from. So I said, all right, that's great. So Nick's in Los Angeles. I think Blake's in Los Angeles too, and I'm out here with you guys. So you guys have to do me a favor. You guys have to do me a favor because, I'm from LA, but, I don't care about them right now. So you guys got to make more noise in Los Angeles, Will. You guys got to... Right? You guys need to be more active than LA will be. You guys got to get out there and tweet and post on Facebook, and especially be like, Ryan is such a great speaker. I'm so glad that he wasn't in Los Angeles. But yeah, all jokes aside, I need you guys to be active. And most important though, is not just how active you guys are right here in the room. Because right now you're going to get inspired, you're going to get moved, you're going to get knowledge, you're going to learn something. You're going to maybe see something for the very first time when you see a leader like Freddie or Kyle or Jason or Lori or any of the 5 stars that are here, right? Tim and Holly. I mean, you're going to hear leadership. Ashley, right? You're going to hear leadership. Kevin Mayweather, Ernest Ross. You have the best darn leaders in the history of the company sitting right here, right now with you guys. I mean, there is no better place to be than where you are this second, this very minute, not because of me by any means, but because of them. So my hat's off to all the 5 stars and to all the ambassadors in the room. Kyle Passetti. I mean, there is no better group of people that you can learn from than the leaders that are here today. So you got to take action on that, right? So make sure you guys, we only build a company as far as you build a company. Every one of us, I'm a CEO, you're a CEO, right? So every single one of us are CEOs of our own company. And, I have a certain role in this organization where I focus on the inside of the walls, right? I got to focus on the employees, and, and I got to focus on a lot of the finance stuff and strategy stuff, and, things that you guys don't even want to know about, right? Like supply chain, legal, and all kinds of stuff like that, right? And together, I focus on my side of it, you focus on your side of it. We build a great company, and we have done that. But right now, we're just getting started. The leadership team has really only been together on the inside of the walls. We've only really been together for about, most of our employees and executives above are less than 2 years together, right? So I've recruited some of the very best people, as you have, from a variety of different companies, some of which are my competition. I'm not going to lie about that one. I have hired some great leaders away from other great companies. I'm talking on the inside of the walls here. Right? And so we built a great team, but it's a brand new company. Think of this like a startup. Yes, myself has been around 9 years. That means myself, Nick and Blake have been weathered. We've learned about the recession. We've learned what not to do for 9 years, and we're still learning every single day. So, life is about that, right? It's a journey. And you're learning too. Together as we learn how to build this business into a worldwide brand that creates a lot of value in a lot of families. I mean, we've already impacted millions, but I see us doing this one day to billions of people. And the way that's going to happen is by each and every single one of you taking action on what you've learned, what you've been inspired by, what you're committed to this weekend. If every single one of you doesn't take that action, guess what we got? Well, we got some good speeches and, some good camaraderie and some good friendships and we built, some foundation. But if you take action, we have a cause. I mean, if you take action, we have something that can be unstoppable. When myself, Nick and Blake first started Myself, in fact, when Nick went to the field for the first time, which was 5 years after we started, I'll never forget, he fired me as a boss, right? I was his boss, and one day he writes me this letter. Nick likes to use a lot of curse words, but I won't repeat them. And he writes me this letter about why he's moving into the field to build Myself as a promoter. And I'll never forget the first meeting I went to with him in Atlanta, where he literally grabbed all the people he could, his friends and family that he knew that had yet to join Myself. Many of them had already joined. Got them in a room, right? And I mean, this was not nearly as pretty of a room as you guys are. I mean, these people were like thrown together, and from them came millions of other individuals. So every single one of you right now has an opportunity to have that moment like Nick did, or like Kyle did, or like Mike Craig did, or like a variety of leaders in the room here, and take that action and build your legacy. Every single one of you. With the Project 10 Challenge, in my opinion, it's a brand new message. Walk around and ask anybody if they've heard of the Project 10 Challenge, and most people will say no. The Project 10 Challenge has a higher retention rate than anything we've ever done, both for customers and for promoters. If you get a person to go through the Project 10 Challenge, they're going to stay with you over 3 times as long as customers and over twice as long as promoters. And that's on average, right? There's going to be some that are going to be with you for life because of the value that you've created in them and in their families as a result of joining the Project 10 Challenge. You know, yeah, that's the truth. I mean, I'm looking at the data on the inside of walls. In fact, next week, our ambassadors all get together for a summit in Atlanta where we brought in John Maxwell. Right? And yeah, I'm excited about that too. And in preparation for that meeting, I have the team putting together the data and looking at, you know, the impact that we've been able to make. Last month alone, 30,000 people joined our company. Last month, 30,000 customers joined our company, thousands more promoters. I mean, think about that. That's awakening the health conscious in a human being's life. Many cases, for the very first time, a person looks themselves in the mirror, or they get exposed to ViSalus via the internet, via Facebook, via a challenge party, an event like this. Some of you are brand new, and you say, you know, it's time for me to take my health seriously. It's time for me to drop that weight. Maybe you say that because, you know, you don't want to duplicate your unhealthy habits to your children, right? Like, I have a 5-year-old son, and I constantly think, you know, he's watching me, all right? You know, so when I eat the ranch dressing, which I do, he's watching me, right? So, you know, I'll put a little less on it. Or, you know, he'll catch me in the gym and I'll work out with him. In fact, many times he's my extra weight when I'm doing a push-up or a sit-up or something like that, right? So I share that with you because in America and across the globe, as I've come to learn, families are not taking their health seriously. And that's one of the core values of ViSalus, health, right? Another value is life, you know, and I have the privilege of being an entrepreneur, and I know many of you are joining ViSalus right now, or you're going to join today, or you're going to join probably officially and take it seriously today for the first time for some of you, because you want to have control of your life. You want to have your own time freedom. You know, right now I have the privilege of, like Tuesday, for example, I fly back home tonight, and Tuesday I take my son on field trip. His school, the teachers asked, you know, they said, I dropped him off the other day, and the teacher said, will you attend a field trip with my son? He's 5 years old. And my duty on this field trip is to take I have to be in charge of 3 kids as one of the parents on the field trip. Can you imagine me herding 3 cats around, right? But I'm so excited to be able to do this, right? Because, you know, I've never taken care of 3 kids at once. I know some of the women in here that have multiple kids are like, you know, you're in trouble, right? You guys are looking at me right now saying, you know, good luck, 3 5-year-olds. But that said, I'm able to have that time with my son because I built an entrepreneurial infrastructure and financial prosperity, which is our third value, so that I can take that time. So I can go on a field trip if I want to. Now, I know many of you probably work for companies that if you went to your boss and said, I got to take my kid on a field trip on Tuesday, last minute notice, they probably would tell you no. Right? Or they'd intimidate you, or make you feel guilty, or make you feel shame because you want to do that, right? I mean, shouldn't that be a right of all parents to be able to spend the time that they need with their kid as they deem necessary, right? Well, when you're working for someone else, it's their right. When you work for yourself, as many of you have made that decision, it now becomes your right. And you get out of this entrepreneurial opportunity as much as you put into it, all right? You don't get out anything more, though. That's the secret. I only get out of ViSalus and the entrepreneurial endeavors I'm involved in, the amount that I put into it. And I'll give you another secret. I'll tell you what I've learned. My partners are one of the greatest blessings of my life, Blake and Nick. And Blake is the most consistent individual you've ever met. I mean, he is disciplined and consistent, and replies to every email and every text message, and shows up every day when he says he would. And I'm a little more inconsistent, I guess, would be the way to describe me. But I told Blake the other day, I said, I don't need to be consistent because I have you being consistent. He didn't like that very much. And then I explained to him the other day, and I know some of you guys, you have the same pattern that I do. I explained to him, I said, well, Blake, I am consistent. I'm just consistently inconsistent, right? I share that with you because when you build this organization, you're looking to fulfill and augment some of your weaknesses. You're looking to leverage your strengths. If your strength is building those relationships, you want to work with your team members, your upline leaders, your mentors in this community. So that way you can build those relationships and build those strengths while you build other skills that, maybe augment your weaknesses. I've gotten a lot more consistent in my old age, especially now that I have a kid. that I got to wake up and get ready for school. Which, by the way, is probably the hardest thing a man has ever done in his life is get his kid ready for school. It is not easy. You know, I don't know how you guys do it, but the other day, man, he fought me every step of the way. I'm telling you, like, trying to brush his teeth, that ain't happening. Right? Trying to pick out his clothes, whatever I picked out he didn't like, the stuff he picked out he wasn't allowed to wear to school. Right? Get him to eat breakfast and pick out his clothes and brush his teeth. Right? Well, that's how Crunch got invented. It's a true story. It's a true story. In fact, any of you, most fellows probably won't know this, but you guys know the website sheknows.com? Any women in here know about it? It's like a parenting site. They just ran a profile on me about how Reagan was my inspiration in the cereal creation process when we created Crunch. And he was my inspiration because I couldn't get him to eat anything but cereal. And I mean, guys, I'm calm under pressure. I've been through all kinds of terrible situations. But my kid freaking out in the morning when I got to get him to school and fed, I mean, it was the hardest thing I've ever thought of in my life, right? And many of the times I'd be taking him to school and I couldn't get him fed. Like, I couldn't get him to eat. Or he wanted to eat cereal. And so I'm sitting there saying, do I give him nothing? Or do I give him this garbage, this cereal, right? And, you know, that's a tough one, right? You know, because you don't want him to be hungry, but you want him to eat. My son has autism. And unfortunately, children with autism, there's texture-related things, and, you know, and they're finicky about their food. So it's not like I could be like, you eat this or else, right? That doesn't jive in my household. A kid with autism, you don't, you know, give that kind of directive and that kind of reinforcement. So that's why we invented Crunch. I'll tell you, I brought home every sample of the cereal, and until Reagan liked it, it wasn't good enough. I go back to the scientific advisory board. And, you know, and my objective with that product was simple. I wanted to be high in protein, high in fiber, high in nutrients, and I wanted to trick him into thinking it was the same cereals like the Fruity Pebbles that he loved. And that's why the fusions of the tri-berry, you know, I had to trick him, right? Because I was like, if I just put the, you know, what looked like bran or kashi or some of this other stuff, he's not going to eat that. But if I put a chocolate granola in that bowl, man, would he eat it up, right? So that gives you a little idea. You guys can tell I have ADD. I'm going to jump all over the place in this picture. So this is the way I get you out of your food coma, is I keep changing the subject until the point where you're like, I just got to follow him one way or the other in order to understand what he's saying. You guys with me? The moral of the story on that one is we develop products, we develop this company, we develop our leadership infrastructure, our training model. We develop it with you in mind because we see ourselves no different than you. When I'm developing a product, I want all of our kids to enjoy the healthiest meal for breakfast, and I want all of us to be able to cut down our breakfast time so we can get our kids to school on time, so we can get to work on time, so that way we're able to, you know, be able to provide a healthy meal to our kids without having to, you know, deal with all the, you know, other challenges that come with that, as I've come to learn. You know, the irony of it is every little thing that we do, some of the products that we're working on right now, you know, we've been investing heavily in our innovation, products and technology. We have some stuff that we're working on that is very powerful. New products that will be coming out. Hint, I'd be at Vitality if I were you to make sure that you're there for those things. All of them are designed with the family in mind. And we start asking ourselves, first and foremost, what do we want our family taking? What are the consumer trends that our family is experiencing and that we're seeing? And then we ask ourselves, can we be the best in the world at this particular product? In the case of cereal, that was pretty easy, because 90% of the cereals out there are just terrible for, you know, a person to eat. And the ones that are actually good for you taste terrible, and so people don't eat them, right? So we said if we can make a great tasting cereal like Crunch and pack it with a ton of nutrients and protein and fiber, a lot of families would be happy about that. And it's interesting because Crunch is our fastest growing product in the portfolio. Yeah, it's the fastest growing. In fact, there's been times where sales are down, but Crunch sales are skyrocketing. The product will this month surpass over $1 million a month in sales, millions upon millions of goals, tens of millions in cumulative sales, and it's really only been in our family, you know, out there in the kids and so forth since January. So, you know, think about that. This product alone, you know, we've sold, you know, a lot of shakes. You guys know that. I still live on the shake. I take it every morning for breakfast, first thing. Imagine how many bowls of cereal we're going to sell as compared to how many shakes that we've sold over the past several years. You have a brand new product, our brand new compensation system with our lifetime challenge bonus and some of the other initiatives that we put together. You have new countries that the company will be opening up and has opened up. You have the brand new Project 10 challenge, right? You have a brand new company as far as I'm concerned. So when you hear stories about people talking about, their success or how, they did this or they did that with Visalis, I want you to project yourself as you're that person, you're that next story, you're that ambassador walking the stage in Houston, right? Or if you don't make it by Houston, you're going to be at the next one or the next one. This business, entrepreneurship, is a lifelong journey. It's not something you do, for a year or 2 years or a week or 2 weeks or 2 months. It is something you do forever. And it's a beautiful, fun thing to do because you get time freedom, and the better you get at it, the more skill you build, the better you get at it, the more fruits you get to enjoy from your efforts. So whether you're just starting out right now, I started when I was 20 years old, 17 years ago, right? And I put probably, 5,000 plus hours a year into the sport of entrepreneurship for those 17 years. So yeah, I'm a little bit further along in terms of my wisdom and knowledge of the subject, but think about it. You guys have a lot of time left. You guys have many years in front of you. If you start really focusing on mastering this subject, understanding it, learning it, 10 years from now, you're going to remember the moment that you sat in the very seat that you're sitting in right now. 10 years from now, you're going to say, I was there in Orlando when Ryan was calling out Los Angeles. And now Orlando's got 10,000 people in a room, right? 10 years from now, you're going to be able to say, I proudly travel to wherever country I want to travel to, and I'm an ambassador for Visalis, and I'm able to help build value in those communities as well. 10 years from now, you're going to be able to say you give more to your church. 10 years from now, you're going to be able to say that you're able to work on various creative projects or put your kids through school or, think about what entrepreneurship can give you. And never lose sight of that. But it is a journey. Malcolm Gladwell has a book called Outliers. Any of you guys read it? One of you? Thanks. I do got to tell you, read books. I'm reading, in fact, right before I came up here, I was listening to the audio book called Five Levels of Leadership by John Maxwell. Highly recommend, as we're rolling out a leadership program that we're co-authoring with John Maxwell, the world's foremost expert on the subject of leadership. Highly recommend that book. Read it, digest it. These are the types of things that we're implementing and bringing to you. That type of wisdom and that type of knowledge from a guy like John, so that you can build your business and become a great leader. First, lead yourself, then lead your family, then lead your community, then lead your state, then lead the world, right? That's the goal. I have a quick video I want to show you guys now that I've taken up all the time digressing on stuff like products and leadership and where we're taking the company. I do want you to all of you, I want you guys to think that go out, this is an exercise that I started doing young as an entrepreneur. A couple of times I've been able to, actually walk into what was once a dream. I filmed a documentary, and I had a dream about seeing this documentary come to life. And I had a dream, I visioned that maybe you'd win some awards and that type of stuff. And the other day, I'd tell you, I walked and I took that award, and it was surreal because I remember visualizing that occurring years upon years ago. So I really highly recommend you guys dream about where you're going to be 5 years from now or 10 years from now as a result of Visalis. How different is that life going to feel? How are you going to walk different, talk different, serve different, give different, be different, have more fun, enjoy more of your free time, spend more time with your kids? What's going to happen as a result of the actions you take today and this weekend? They're going to build and compound and build your life 10 years from now, 15 years from now, or forever how far out you want to go, right? So that's what I'm doing. I'm 36 years old, be 37. So I'm past my mid-30s, I'm in my late 30s coming up here. And we got 40, 50 years, 60 years, God willing, with our products, I might be around another 200-300 years. Right? We have a long runway. We need to take action now. And I want to show you a quick video. So my job is to really make sure that the culture in the field matches the culture on the inside of the walls and vice versa. So I want to show you a quick video about the culture and the values that we're focused on here at Visalis. And these are values that I spend a lot of time on. myself personally. And I actually score myself on a 1 to 10 to these values. Now, you'll always have to shift your focus. It's not like you master one value and you never have to touch it again, right? You always have to constantly spend time and energy, and things come out of balance, and you got to go back and refocus on it. And the first value is to build trust through collaboration, right? So how are we collaborating and building trust with our leaders? I ask myself, how am I spending time with our 5 stars and our top leaders? And you know, and you got to be a critic of yourself. So ask yourself, how are you building trust and collaboration with your team? Another one of the values is to think like an entrepreneur and be resourceful. See, life is not about resources. It's about resourcefulness. So a lot of times it's easy to get in the trap of thinking about all the resources you need and you don't have. Like today I was giving a speech to some of our leaders, and I said, it's really easy for me to think about all the things I don't have. You know, one of my friends has a 757 private jet with a bedroom and a shower and a gym in it. And so when he comes to events like this, you know, he's got his personal trainer, his chef, and it's really easy for me to be like, well, I need that, right? You know, and it costs $700 million or whatever he paid for the thing. It's really easy for me to get caught up in that trap, right? But that's not what I need. I just need to be resourceful. I need to convince him to let me use his plane for free, right? Right? So there's a difference between resources and resourcefulness. And entrepreneurs always think like an entrepreneur, and they're trying to be resourceful, right? And a lot of times it's real easy. I don't need the video. I don't need it. A lot of times it's real easy to, the video, I'll put it up on the fan page there. But a lot of times it's real easy to get caught in that trap. The other thing, one of the values of the 6 is always be on challenge. And it's, in fact, it's explicitly challenge yourself and challenge others. Right? So I always have to put myself on a challenge. I always have to correct myself, and I have difficulty with weight. I always fluctuate. I'm sure some of you guys have seen. It's easy for me to put on 10 pounds without a problem. My height weight, I was 260. I started having chronic back issues, and now when I feel that back picking up, I get back on challenge. That's one of my measurements, making sure that I'm doing the right core exercises and so forth, so I have the right health. Also, when the pants don't fit like they used to, back on challenge, right? But more important is you have to be public with your challenge, and you have to be constantly challenging yourself and challenging others. Does that make sense? It's one of the values of the company. So anyone remember the first 3?
Build trust, be resourceful, and always be in challenge.
Okay, yeah, you guys all got it. Perfect. One of the other is to be a good teacher and a better student. All right? Be a good teacher and a better student. What does that mean? That means that I should first come from the position of I want to learn as much as I can from every individual I can. Like today, for example, I learned something. I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram, but I just took a picture with heavyweight champion Michael Moore. I think he's in the house somewhere around here. And he stared me down. And I just learned what it was like to get stared down by a heavyweight champion. And, that's not fun, guys. I was really scared, just so you guys know. But you learn from every individual you encounter, right? So I take the position, I'm going to learn something. I learned about boxing. I learned about, all kinds of things in that conversation. He's a wonderful human being. I'm always taking a position where I want to learn from people. I want to learn from every person I encounter constantly. And I also want to teach what I learn, right? Because just learning something is a selfish thing, right? But if you learn something and teach it, now you're actually being selfless, right? So you have to, whatever you learn here today, you guys got to be fired up and start teaching it. And the only way you learn is if you're a student. John Wooden, one of my mentors, he's considered the leading coach, the all-time greatest coach in the history of coaches. He won 10 NCAA championships. He won 88 games in a row. I got to sit down with him. He's written tons of books on the subject of leadership. And he asked me more questions than I could ask him. And he's a 99-year-old man. He had the Presidential Medal of Freedom given to him. He's met with all the leaders you can imagine, and he was sitting there asking me questions. And I was like, wow, this is a student, a voracious student, and then in turn a teacher. So if we could all model and being like Coach Wooden, it's be a good teacher and a better student. Does that make sense? You guys got that one? So what are you going to learn here today? You're going to absorb, you're going to digest, and then you're going to apply. Right? The other value, and I posted on my Instagram today, is be inspired. So you should seek to be inspired by people. You know, all around us there's inspiration if you just choose to see it. Right? If you choose to experience it. You can be inspired by the story of a person who lost 10 pounds. If you deeply listen and deeply care, you can be inspired by a story of a person who stopped and started and stopped and started. Now, we all know how that is, right? I mean, I'm inspired by, you know, some of the fitness experts I see in the room here that are just out of this world, the best in the world, and they're here to help us. I'm inspired by not only their physiques, but I follow them on Instagram and I see their workouts, and, you know, I mean, I'm inspired by all kinds of people day in and day out. And this business really fills your life with that type of inspiration if you're open to receiving it and if you make that, you know, part of your mission, right? I highly suggest you follow the leaders' Instagrams. You really dive in and get those sorts of inspiration. Because in our life, there's so many uninspiring things that occurs, right? You have, you know, tough tragedies that occur that are outside your control. You have things like the recession. You have all kinds of stuff that is uninspiring, right? You might have family members suffering of personal challenges. I mean, I have a sister who suffers from addiction. You know, in my life, I always have uninspiring things occurring on a daily basis, right? And if I focus on that stuff, then I too become uninspiring. So I got to make sure I fill my life with inspiration from other sources, because it doesn't just come to you naturally sometimes, you know? You know, when my son's being uninspiring, you know, I gotta seek other sources of inspiration and shift his state, right, as a result of that, right? And the second half of that value is to be inspired. So how are you inspiring others through your story? One of my belief systems is, you know, your message to the world is your life. Your life is a message. Like, I can, from the outside looking in, and look at you, see where you live, what you do, how you do it, and say that's a message to someone. It's a message to the neighbor, it's a message to your boss, it's a message to your husband, it's a message to your wife, it's a message to your kids. It's a message, right? So if you believe that, how do you want that message to be received? How do you want that message to change? How do you want to shape that message so that way, you know, you're inspiring others just by walking into a room, right? Your life is your message to the world. Make it inspiring, right? You can do that, and with this business, we provide you the vehicle to do that, right? Whether it be getting people on the challenge, getting them to shoot their Project 10 video, getting them to an event like this, like you did here today, right? That's inspiring stuff. Do you know how many people right now, think about it, in your friend group, in your friends and family, how many people are doing something uninspiring right now, like organizing their sock drawer on a Saturday, where you're doing something inspiring, learning about the subject of entrepreneurship, bettering your family, and bettering your community. So, round of applause to you. Is the video ready? Is the video ready?
Number 6.
Yes. All right, 6th time. You get the 6th one on the video. Here it comes. Be a good teacher and a better student. Think like an entrepreneur, be resourceful. Oh, seek simplicity. Challenge yourself, challenge others. Normally the video has sound and theatrics and the lights go down, but you guys get the picture. On the simplicity side of it, I'll speak to that and I'll wrap with that. It's really easy as an entrepreneur to get into complexity, all right? Entrepreneurship is very complex. The best entrepreneurs, though, focus on the simple things. There's only 1 or 2 things that really matter for you building your business. In fact, I would argue there's only one, and that's your passion for building it, right? Now, as an entrepreneur, I don't say, well, what else do I need? What products do I need? What more compensation do I need? What more employees do I need? What more facilities do I need? I don't sit there and think about all the things that I need. I think about all the things that I have, right? And if you just focus on the things that you have a great heart. You have a great passion for this business. You have great relationships, you know? You have a great appetite and ambition and desire to build this business. Focus on what you do have, not what you don't have, right? That's simplicity at its finest. Now, we've built a system that tries to take a lot of the complexity out of entrepreneurship, right? So, just get a person on a challenge and get them to shoot their Project 10 video. They're more likely to stay with you longer, get a result, and talk to more people about that, right? So all of the things that we've done in the systems that you heard here are our desire to take away the complexities so that you can focus on the things that matter in this business, right? Getting people results, right? That's what matters. Now, we could give you an education on every ingredient, every product that we've ever made. And you could be sitting here for, the next 10 days, and I wouldn't even master that subject, right? We've hired the world's foremost leading experts like Dr. Michael Seidman and, some of our scientific advisory board and so forth to really, do that work for us, right? Our goal is just simply let the products do the talking. So that way we don't have to. And how do you let the products do the talking? You get them in people's bodies. And how do you get them in people's bodies, right? You do Rockstar Challenger, get them to a challenge party, and you expose them. Those are the simple things that we built for you so you can build your business to get the most results. Money is a result of something else. If I can give you any piece of advice I can ever give anyone, you don't need to focus on money, right? Money is a result of something else. In our business, money is a result of the people that you help. Whether you help them by teaching them about the financial opportunity side of it, or you help them by teaching about the product, that's where the money comes from. And the more people, for example, in our system that you help get their product for free, right? Free for free, the more money that you make. That's pretty simple, right? So, it's a simple business, but it's real easy to make it very complex. It's real easy to write up a list of all the things that you don't have. I remember doing this where, I'd go home to my office and I'd be like, okay, I need to get a whiteboard, I need to get a stapler, I need to get markers for my whiteboard, I need to get paper, I need to get a printer. Back in those days, we had beepers and fax machines, and I need all this stuff before I can start my business. And that, you don't need that. We try to take away all those types of things by giving you the best mobile tools, the best back office websites, the best products, the best mentorship from the leaders, the best system that arguably this industry has ever seen, so that you could build success. Does that make sense? Got it. So seek simplicity. Now, everything that we do in our company, we filter those values. I hire people to those values. So when you do an interview with me, if you're getting a job inside the walls, the first thing I do is I play the person in a game of Connect 4. You ever go for an interview and have the boss just come in and say, all right, let's play Connect 4 and see how you do? That tells more about a person than their resume, right? I want to see the way they think, the way they interact, who they are, how they connect with my values, how we interchange. You guys, you got to really focus on that, right? You got to focus on the things that you do have, not the things that you don't have. And then the things that you do have, you have great relationships. You have a great heart. You're studious. You're here in the room right now. You do have an education that most people don't have about the subject of health that you've learned here today. You have great products. You have a great company that wants to see you succeed. You don't need much more than that. But all too often, thank you for one applause, just one. All too often, we'll focus on all the things we don't have, right? Focus on what you do have. That's the main thing I can tell you. In terms of values, focus on what you do have, not what you don't have, and then just, be a student and get better every single day, right? Focus on making sure that you're learning every day, that you're growing every day, and that you're teaching every day, right? Because it's not just about you learning and growing, it's about you also teaching. And, the last thing that I'll leave off with, a lot of times people ask me, what's the vision for Visalis? And I've always had an issue with vision, although, I love the concept, but I'm a dreamer, and I dream about a Visalis that's, serving millions of people around the world and having a Visalis that has made a big impact in the worldwide obesity epidemic, maybe even been one of the catalysts to end it or to stop it from spreading like it is. I dream of Visalis that's in 100, different countries and different languages, and, I dream of a Visalis like that, right? But in order to get to that dream, we have to build a culture, right? And culture eats vision for lunch. Culture is how we're able to serve each other, how we're able to develop each other as leaders, how we're able to grow as leaders and grow our families and grow our friends and grow our Visalis businesses. That's what culture is. And I would argue that right now, the leadership of Visalis is we're right on the cusp of a shift of culture from where our first wave, we wanted to prove that we could be successful and prove we could do it, right? Us individuals. The next wave of iSalus is we want to prove that we as leaders can create more leaders and duplicate leaders. So for us to go to where we want to go, to be a multi-billion-dollar company, which I know we will be because of the leadership in this room here and the leadership all around the world right now, right? In order for us to do that, we have to develop you into the best leaders that you potentially can be. We have to serve you. We have to do it through you. It's no longer about us, it's about you. Now that's good, right? You guys should be sitting in a chair saying, you know, my lucky number just got called, right? All you have to do to show us that you want to be a leader, to show us that you want, you know, the opportunity, show us you want to be an ambassador, to show us you want to be a 5-star, all you have to do is take action. So few people take action. Thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, they'll say, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. You know, I'm going to take action, Ryan, I'm going to get to BMW, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And one of the, you know, big philosophies I have is show me, don't tell me, right? Because those people who take that action, we see you, every one of us. We want to work with you, and we want to develop you, and we want to create a legacy with you. So like one day, you know, when my son walks into a room, and people ask him, well, you know, why are you so proud of your last name? He says, oh, my dad's, you know, one of the families that created iSalus. And that brand means something around the planet because it's done great, good, and created a lot of value in a lot of families. That's it for me. I love you guys. Thank you very much.